Good morning, everyone in the Kadampa and online. We'll be getting started in just a moment. Geshe Gelik won't be here this morning, but Venerable Tendron will be teaching for us. And she has arrived.
Gracias, Ali.
It's on page 34 in the Gold Prayer Book. We'll start with Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra, and then the Medicine Buddha stanza and mantra, and then the Four Measurables, all on page 34 in the Gold Prayer Book. Te ata Te ata mune mune maha munaye soha. Te ata mune mune maha Bhagawan, with equal compassion for all, whose name when merely heard dispels the suffering of the lower realms, dispel of disease and the three poisons, I prostrate to Medicine Buddha, lapis light. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, bekanze, raja samugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, bekanze, raja samugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, bekanze, raja samugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, bekanze, raja samugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, bekanze, raja samugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, bekanze, raja samugate soha. Te ata om bekanze, bekanze, maha bekanze, bekanze, raja samugate soha. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends or hatred for enemies. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends or hatred for enemies. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends or hatred for enemies. Okay, and then please turn to page 37, and we'll recite the verse of praise and mantra, first for Chenrezig and then for Green Tara. Not veiled by any fault, white in color, who said a perfect Buddha crowns in light, gazing compassionately at all beings, to you, Chenrezig, I'll sing one, I prostrate. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum. Tara liberates from cyclic existence. Tutara liberates from the 8 fears. Tura liberates from all sickness. I prostrate to the liberator, Mother Tara. Om Tare Tu Re Soha. 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 Now turn to page 34 for the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer. Sangye Cherdon Soki Chotom La Janchu Bardu Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chernyengi Pesernamgi Dola Bencher Sangye Drupa Shok Sangye Cherdon Soki Chonam La Janchu Bardu Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chernyengi Pesernamgi Dola Bencher Sangye Drupa Shok Sangye Cherdon Soki Chonam La Janchu Bardu Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chernyengi Pesernamgi Dola Bencher Sangye Drupa Shok.
Thank you, Lamla. Now, today is family program day, so if there are any families with children here, you can follow Allie out to the classroom. And just a reminder that we do have family program typically on the second Saturday of the month. Sometimes that has Sunday. Thank you. It's not Saturday. Typically on the second Sunday of the month. It does change sometimes if we have, something special happening on the second Sunday of the month. So keep your eye out on the website. And families, if you want to know more, just see information on our website, kadampa-center.org. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Oh, that's loud. Is that better? It's good enough? Thank you. I can hear myself. Ugh. I refuse to wear one of these in Florida. I'm a very, very bad nun. Anyway, so Okay, so as you might be able to tell, I'm a little nervous, but that's how I start every teaching. I've been the resident teacher in Florida for 8 years, and I get nervous every week for every teaching, so this is just my, starting point. But so don't worry about me, I will probably be able to talk in a few minutes. But so we're going to start with Lama La leading us in 9-round breathing so I can settle my mind. So, yeah. So we're doing that, so we want to try to quiet our minds, so whatever works for you, but 9-round breathing is very effective for at least starting the process of quieting the mind, because it gives you something else to focus on. Thank you, Lama La.
Okay, so as Venerable Tendrila mentioned, the purpose of 9-round breathing meditation is to get rid of or eliminate the negative and balanced energy stuck in our channels. So the imbalanced energy was created by the mind. Every mind rides with energy. So it's called the energy of the mind. So first, let's just sit with our back straight, with your back higher than your knees if you're sitting on a cushion. So if you're sitting in a chair, have your feet flat on the floor. So starting with your left hand, place your middle finger on your ring finger, and I'll tell you what the 9 rounds are first. Okay, and then we'll do it together. So with your left hand, you block your left nostril and inhale slowly and deeply through your right nostril. And as you inhale, you can visualize breathing in positive energy in the form of white light. Then place the fingers of your left hand on your right nostril and exhale slowly, deeply through your left nostril. When you exhale, you can visualize breathing out negative energy in the form of black smoke. So that's the first 3 rounds. And then for the next set of 3, with your right hand, you place your middle finger on your right ring finger, and then close your right nostril, and then inhale long and slow through your left nostril. Then closing your left nostril, exhale slowly and deeply through your right nostril. So that's rounds 4 through 6. And then you inhale and exhale through both nostrils in for the 7th to the 9th rounds. Okay? All right, so let's do this together now. So with your left hand, you block your left nostril with your ring finger and inhale slowly and deeply through your right nostril. Visualizing breathing in positive energy in the form of white light. Place your finger on your left hand on your right nostril and exhale negative energy in the form of black smoke. And then do this 2 more times. Now with your right hand, place your middle finger on your ring finger, and then block your right nostril and inhale that wonderful positive light. And then block your left nostril and exhale slowly, deeply through your right nostril. And repeat this 2 more times. Now finally inhale through both nostrils, slowly and deeply, and exhale through both nostrils, slowly and deeply.
So if your mind is still jumping around, feel free to do a second round of 9 breaths. If you already feel a little quieter, we can practice just going deeper into the silence. And we talked a little bit about a couple of weeks ago about people's different methods for doing that. Like looking at a vast sky, as if you're lying back on a hill, no clouds in the sky whatsoever, perfectly peaceful, no mosquitoes, no anything disturbing you, perfect temperature. I like to think about getting in a swimming pool, sinking to the bottom and sitting there. And slowly all the sounds disappear. All the activity of others disappears. So knowing that you have nothing else to do except sit here, you chose to be here, this is all you need to do, nothing to worry about, nothing to plan. When thoughts arise, just thinking, and don't follow it. Underneath the chaos of our minds is this quiet faculty of awareness. It is this awareness that supports our experiences. If we don't project anything onto the experience, we can experience things just as they are. In order to do that, we must get comfortable with the quiet. Within this quiet, take a moment to generate a positive intention, positive motivation for your time spent here today. With the wish that it benefits your own mind, but that benefit will ripple out to benefit those around you. And now bring your awareness to the others in the room. How we doing? Anybody struggle with being? In other words, not doing, just sitting. You know, one of the obstacles I think many of us have is that we feel like we should be doing something. I don't have time to just sit here. You know, who are we kidding? You know, I have all the time in the world. That's the great thing about wearing these clothes. So, but it's this recognition that taking care of our minds is extremely valuable. You know, every regret we have usually arises from some action where our mind wasn't very skillful or peaceful. So being able to really take good care and be able to learn how to go slow in the mind, you know, to pause before saying anything, doing anything, coming to any kind of conclusion, you know, can help us in how we go from there, how we speak, if we speak, you know, what we do with our bodies. It's a way of being able to be in charge. You know, just because we think something doesn't mean, what does it mean? What does our thinking mean? Anything? It's just a thought. Is it necessarily correct? Does it necessarily have anything to do with what's happening? How many times your thoughts are completely separate from what's going on in your moment, you know? All the time, yeah. So, being able to stop and go, what's happening now? You know? Like when someone says something to us that we don't like, or that let's start with that one, you know, where we're surprised, or like when someone calls you and says, you want to teach today? You know, it's this, you know, we want to be able to recognize how quickly we go somewhere when that kind of feeling arises, that disturbing feeling of like, what? You know, I didn't do that. Are you kidding me? You know, whatever's arising in the mind. What a jerk. You know, I wasn't thinking that when someone asked. So don't even go there. So anyway, but we want to be able to go, ooh, I'm not comfortable. Maybe I'm not reliable when I'm not comfortable. Maybe I need to flash that caution sign. Warning, danger, danger, you know. Whenever we have that sort of sense, I don't know where you feel it. Does everybody have a place in their body where they kind of feel off? It's like, you're a little tighter, a little nauseous, whatever it is. We want to be very aware of that moment so that we don't do anything in that moment, so we're not reactive in that moment, because that's where all our power is. We have choice. Don't realize we have choice because we're constantly just reacting, react, you know. But actually, if our first action is to pause, that gives us that space to choose the next moment, you know. This takes practice. You know, first it takes practice recognizing that discomfort and valuing it. It is telling you something useful. That doesn't mean it's telling you anything about the other person or the situation. All it's telling you is about you. I'm not comfortable. I'm scared. I'm nervous, whatever it is, you know. We don't want to take that moment and think it's giving us some ammunition to use against someone else. Because we can have this feeling of discomfort for all kinds of reasons. One can be the words that we heard. What can those words do? If we are so often not even really present in our mind with what's going on now, what often do you think is the experience when we hear something that seems to start this chain of discomfort? Yes. Someone's looking for a mic.
Chris has got it.
I was thinking, so if we are not present in the moment and we experience something, whatever it is, either words or a situation, our mind will likely go to memory, and we're going to be reacting from a place of memory, not present, but past.
Yeah. Does that ring true for a lot of people? That what you're really reacting to is a tone or something that is reminiscent of some other experience that you found unpleasant. It can be as simple as being startled. I don't like to feel startled. It makes me extremely uncomfortable because I'm afraid of uncertainty, you know? So I know that if I'm startled by someone's words, like I don't expect them, or I'm really surprised by what they are, you know, that this starts a chain of anxiety for me. So knowing that allows me to go, okay, wait, just wait, you know, so that I can parse this out into useful information, as opposed to acting from this unreliable state of mind. You know, one thing we can be certain from the teachings is that our disturbing states of mind, you know, are wrong. They're not the way things are. They are a projection of something that's coming from a place within us that's not entirely accurate. It's not, you know, it's not that we can't have wisdom and be scared, like the wisdom that says run away from the tiger, or maybe you're not supposed to do that, or whatever you're supposed to do with tigers. Supposed to run away, go up the tree? I don't know. You know, yeah, you're just out of luck, let's put it that way. But it's, you know, you have to, you know, recognize that most of our reactions that make us feel uncomfortable have nothing to do with a tiger. We're not in that kind of danger, you know, but we have other fears, don't we? Like, my boss doesn't like me, you know, I'm gonna lose my job. Or they're going to think I did this, and I did not do this. You know, we have our reputation at stake. Or we're just annoyed, you know, because it's not something we want to have to handle. Oh, please, don't make me deal with this now, kind of thing. So we just really need to see that the more we pause, the more we can start to see what's really going on in our minds that may be influencing our reaction to what is said. And that's important, because so often, have you ever had a conversation with someone and then later you're talking about it and you're kind of going, were we in the same place? You know, because you're not really communicating. You're off on your conversation you're having from that discomfort. They're off having their conversation with, you know, whatever's going on with them, because let's face it, we're not the only ones with a chaotic mind. You know, every interaction we have is with somebody, some other person who projects and does all these same things that we do. Just because we're Buddhists, we're not the only messed up people in the room. You know, so it's this awareness that the Buddha just said we have, you know, we mistake reality and that to exist in a way it does not. For one, my big central mistake is that I think I'm the center of the universe. And don't you know that? You know, can't you cooperate with that attitude? You know, and everybody in the room thinks that. And our, what is it, stereoscopic vision reinforces that. It's like, I am in the center of the room. So, you know, we need to understand that we really think that everything everybody says has something to do with us. You know how when you walk by a group and they chuckle, and part of your mind thinks, what are they saying about me? Like they've noticed you. You know? So we need to be aware that we're constantly projecting onto others things that are just happening in our own mind. They have nothing to do with the reality of what's going on in their mind. You know? So one of the things, Lama Yeshe, whom I never had the good fortune to meet, but as a founder of these centers, with Lama Zopa Rinpoche, said, check up. We need to, you know, really, before we conclude anything, We need to check up everything. What was the phrase he used, Don? That's it, check up. Check it out. Check up, dear. Yes. It's Venerable Robina, dear. So we need to really realize that we will have a lot more interactions that make sense if we take care of our half. And that creates the opportunity to have a lot less regret for words casually, too quickly said, for misunderstanding the meaning. If we don't even, check with the other person. Did I hear that correctly? Is this what I heard? Is that what you said? Or what do you mean by that? Or whatever. It's very important to be able to pause long enough so that you don't have anger or impatience or some assumption in your voice about the motive of the other person, Now, most of you probably have much more control over your speech than I do, but it's, this is what we want to notice this, because even if you're one of these wonderful people who doesn't attack with their voice, who doesn't respond, they may not say anything, you want to check what's going on in your mind. Because you may be having that same conversation in your mind, making all sorts of assumptions, conclusions, blah, 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 judgy, all that kind of stuff that we do in our minds, and the end result may be the same. You're putting up barriers between you and others. When we can't communicate well, or we're communicating through superimpositions, the projections that we're making, if everything that we are working with is material that is just where really reflects our own confusion in our own minds, we keep these walls between each other. They're walls made of our projections, of our assumptions, of whatever it is, our fears, And so we can't get closer. We can't develop affection just for the humanity of each other. And if we want to develop that mind of compassion for all sentient beings, like we say in our prayers, you kind of need to start from a place of affection. That doesn't mean affection in the sense of liking everybody you meet. We're not going to like everybody we meet, okay? But it's more of an affection for their humanity, their affection for the fact that they're struggling in the same way we're struggling, that they have the same issues going on, the same memories, the same kind, all those things that the materials that we use to project, so do they. They've got their stories in their head. And so if we can't be able to see the human being or the sentient being behind that, we can't make progress in developing universal compassion. So, pausing and thinking about, I'm with another human being. Don't jump to conclusions here. Have that conversation in your head. And then we talked a couple of weeks ago, Geshe brought up these questions that we could use during that pause, some filters we could have ready to use, in our minds. Like when someone says something that you don't like, or that starts that sense of, indignation. It's particularly dangerous when it's righteous indignation. So, and that starts, we want to ask ourselves if what is it true, whatever they've said? Whatever we're thinking, is it true? Whatever we're tempted to say, is it true? We want to catch ourselves before we're being reactive. Then we want to think about whether whatever it is we want to say, is it necessary to say? Is it going to help? Is it really about communication, or is it one-upmanship? No. And then finally, is it kind? So why do we care about whether it's kind or not? Because we're mad at them, right? They've said something we don't like, and we want to say something that maybe we're pausing because we know that what we want to say isn't, we might think it's true. It's not only that, we think it's absolutely true, and we're absolutely right. So what is is it kind part? What's that about? Humanity? Yep. Microphone.
Yeah, I think if we don't respond with kindness, right, then what happens is that we trigger that person, right? So that person is not kind, and so we created this whirlwind of stuff. Yeah. That if we had just thought, well, no, I don't agree with what she's saying or he's saying, but it's okay. That's what he or she thinks. I'm just going to be kind, and then that sort of like stops it right there, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes when we find if we just go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I, came off that way, or da-da-da-da-da, or did something that upset you, Are we comfortable with that? Some of you I know are, because I know some of you. You're like that. Those of you who are more like me, So it actually is a wonderful thing to be able to own the discomfort that you may feel, because sometimes, of course, what the other person's saying is true. You did act like a jerk, or you did do this, or you did that wrong, or da-da-da-da-da. So where do we want to go with that? So say someone says something to us that, on first hearing, sounds a bit ugly, or not true, or you hope it's not true, but then you kind of think about it and go, oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I was just thinking about how if we're saying may all sentient beings have happiness, that's another reason to be kind. Just kind of seeing if my behavior is living up to that, if that's something I'm saying all the time here.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Did somebody remember my question? What was my question? Where do we go from here? So we heard something that we think, oh, there's some truth to that. What do we want to do with that information? Yeah, Elise.
This is just reminding me of something I read that His Holiness said, when someone says something, you ask, is it true? Well, if it's true, why be mad? Deal with it. If it's not true, then no, it's not true. Why be mad?
Yeah, this is the key, isn't it?
Easy to say, but not to
Yeah,
do.
but we really want to look at how our attachment to what people think of us, how that can influence our response. You know, not everybody, not only are we not going to like everybody, not everybody's going to like us. You know, so the fact that they may have an opinion about you that you don't think is true, but they do, you know, how important is that? You know, sometimes we inflate its importance as if somehow it matters that this is their opinion of you. If they're, you know, is it a good basis for a fight? If they just don't like you, you know? We want to recognize that sometimes the discomfort is from that kind of place, where we just want something to be different, you know? I want everybody to like me. Yeah, Donna.
I find that one thing that helps me, especially if I'm upset with somebody about their opinion of me, and that's not a person that I particularly care about, you know?
Yeah.
Then I remind myself, do I want myself, my life, and my mind to be held hostage by this person's opinion? And that's very freeing to say, you know, just to take that opinion.
I think that's a big key piece. Susie, did you want to say something?
I'm just running the mic.
Oh, okay, just checking. Okay, so this is the thing that we really want to keep in mind, is that other people's opinions, we want to check it out, don't we? Because if it's true, what do we want to do with it? We might want to change something, you know, or look into how we might do something differently. If it's not true, why worry? You know, that's when we can look within and kind of go, oh, I don't think I do that. Or I know I don't do that, you know? And then you can say, I'm sorry, you know, whatever is appropriate to the conversation, if anything. But we don't have to base our, what was it? I just read this recently. We don't have to base our opinion of ourselves. We don't have to use as a measure of ourselves, you know, feelings. Who was this that said this recently? It might have been Tenzin Lama. So, you know, this idea, you know, if we base it on how we feel in a moment, we'll be all over the place all day long. You know, that's the roller coaster of life, you know. Oh, they like me. Oh, they don't like me. Oh, I did this right. Oh, I did that wrong. Oh, da, da, da. You should have seen me trying to paint a picture yesterday. I have no skills. So, and I'm surrounded by all these people doing it for the first time, and they all have something that like looks like what they're to do. Anyway, and so, you know, it's like, oh, I thought that was pretty good. And then I would look over here, oh, maybe not so much. So, you know, when we listen to our feelings as the measure of how we're doing, it's going to be erratic as our feelings are. But if we look at what we do, what our behavior does, you know, we might have a better measure. We are kind. If we pause before acting instead of reacting. You know, our feelings, that little gut reaction that, you know, has started and we're not comfortable, we're just finding something unpleasant. And that's a definition of feeling in Buddhism. It's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Now, we can see what story we create out of that feeling. And if we pause, we can interrupt any habitual story we have. You know, like, so if we have low self-esteem or something, you know, we might think, or like me at painting, you know, you just think, oh, I must have done that wrong. You just immediately go into this spiral of taking the person's words, you know, and saying, absolutely true, I'm a mess, you know. And you just go with that. Or if they say, oh, you're wonderful, and so you just go with that, you know? So, you know, you have no measure within. And we're trying to develop inner wisdom. You know, it's inner wisdom that we need. And the Buddha said we have the basis for that. So we're just trying to cultivate, and one of the basic, you know, the Buddha said that our compassion, the fact that everybody has compassion for something at some point, sometime, is how we know we have Buddha potential. And with pure compassion, wisdom is present. It is wise to be compassionate. So it's this, we have this basis. We just need to develop it. And so being able to remember, oh, that's right, for the benefit of all sentient beings. So maybe I want to be kind. I say that all the time. So maybe I want to be kind. You know, this is that, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not the center of the universe. You know, the energy at all moments is interdependent on all of us. You know, how we interact, how we look at each other, how we try not to go to judging. You never have said what you wanted to say. Didn't you get a microphone? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was listening.
Okay, good.
So I'm not sure it's the question's still there. But when someone has something negative to say, and we've established, okay, this is not true, and we have that inner measurement of, okay, is this true, is this not true? We've worked through the reaction, responded kindly. Easy to step away from that person that holds that view of us when they're not a regular part of our life. But if they're a regular part of our life, and they just want to go about their business as if they never said that or held that view of you, to interact with that, and they just want to interact with you regularly, every day, and they still have that view.
So are you carrying their point of view with you?
It's not true.
Okay, so it's not true.
So work through that, no longer reacting, but there is still a desire to withdraw and not engage as much.
Okay, so that sort of says a part of us, even if we know it's not true, embraces that situation and holds tight. You know, if the relationship continues, you know, like it always did, you know, and before you even knew this opinion or whatever, why do we want to hold on to that moment? What's going on for us in that? Holding on.
I think that is that piece of reaction then, because it feels like, well, like let's just say it's my father, for instance, held a very,
well, whatever.
whoever. And so, okay, but he just wants to go about the business as if he never said it, never held that opinion, but still holds it.
Yeah, because we've already established that they hold it, and that you don't think it's true.
Right.
So
go ahead.
So this grasping after it, like, but he shouldn't think that because it's not true.
He can think whatever he wants. But I don't want to engage.
So you
because if I engage, I know it won't be as where I want to be with him.
Okay, so so this is one of those choices, inner choices, you know, that sometimes we have to recognize that we're holding a grudge. You know, we're holding on to something, and we might want to look at that. Is it because we don't want them to hold that opinion? And can we do anything about it? You know? It's just like, this is what, you know, the Buddha said, we're chasing happiness, but we grasp onto suffering. You know, that moment of just not really wanting to let it go, where you're still thinking, I thought of something this morning, I thought, oh my God, that's decades old. You know, let it go. You know, this is a habit we have, you know? So it's just the acknowledging, ooh, I haven't really let that go, you know? And then looking at it, is it serving me well to hold on to it? And so you want to think of other ways, in analytical meditation, when you're just sitting thinking about it, going, okay, have I ever said something to somebody else that probably hurt their feelings and that I really, now I wouldn't say it or whatever. I mean, should I hold myself accountable for that for all time? So that we can perhaps loosen our grip on things that other people have said. There's also the possibility of checking it out with the person. Having a conversation when it's not a heated moment, when it's just, if it's a person you have a relationship with and always have a relationship with, as we do with family members, and old friends, you might want to kind of say, one day, we were talking and you said this, and I want to know, what is it about my behavior, my words that led you to that? Because I'm kind of feeling bad that you feel that way about me. Or just tell them how you feel about having heard that, and that you don't, whatever. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's just, we need to recognize that sometimes we have the opportunity to take a situation and improve a relationship because of that, that learning we experience in that interchange, that exchange. Other times, we don't need to do that. We can just let it go, and try to really forget it. Because you already established that you don't think it's true. So why worry?
So how does the sense of self come into play with all of this?
A lot, that we grasp at a sense of self. We need a healthy sense of self to do any kind of practice. There's nothing wrong, we exist, we want to believe in our Buddha nature, all these things. But the Buddha said we need to be careful because we are putting on to our sense of self something that is permanent and has, that's eternal, and that that somehow it's kind of fixed, even though we know it's not really fixed. But so somebody says something that impinges upon that view that we have of ourselves. And the fact that we grasp onto that is, it doesn't like it. So one of the things of this is just a moment, right? That whatever interaction is, it's a couple of moments in time. It doesn't define who we are. It doesn't define who anybody in the situation is. Because it's just a moment, and that's all we are. So the self is just a name we give to this body of mind from moment to moment, moment to moment. This holding on to some sense that there's a me that's being damaged by this person's words, or my view of myself is being damaged by this person's words. There isn't that kind of self to begin with. They're just a bunch of moments of body and mind that have a name to it, and we all have the same name. And mine's the sinner. I'm the sinner self of this room. So it's this being able to recognize that what's so great about those opportunities is that that's one of those examples when you go, oh, that's myself that I'm grasping. That sense of self that we have is exactly what we're trying to dismantle when we look for the self. We go, oh, is it my wrinkle in my forehead? Is it the tightness in my jaw? And we can't find it. We can't find it because it's just a series of moments. The self is just a label that's been put on a series of moments because for convenience of communication. And then we realize that we have to give each other names so that we can identify which self we're talking about. or we're just over-judging in our mind. So these are all examples of this grasping after something solid that isn't solid. But our belief in it being this thing, I'm sorry, I have a self to protect. I have a reputation to protect. It's not that that's not true in the sense of, it matters what your boss thinks of you at work, it matters what, at least of your work. But it's, there are times when we want to correct someone's view of, if the boss has the wrong idea about what you're doing with your work time, you might need to correct that. But thinking that who you are is something that is permanent, unchanging, and that, I have something to hold on to here, goes against what we actually can intellectually, logically figure out when we look at our lives. Because we're constantly changing. And how we feel in any given moment is sort of interdependent on all these things, what we're grasping at in that moment, what we're, what kind of state of mind is present when it happens. So all these, there are so many layers to our moments because we're trying to hold tight on so many things. I'm sorry, I'm a whole unit, and today I'm sensitive about this, when there's nothing, no unit there. Yeah, Elise.
I was going to say another whole damaging aspect to all of this, to ourselves as well as others, is when someone says something to you you don't like, then you think, oh, I don't like that person, and you don't like anything about them.
Yeah.
So you don't get a chance to know all of their positive qualities. For example, I know some families who have a real different political view of one,
Yeah.
and some choose to say, well, I can't talk to that person at all. So they completely lose out on that relationship and that with a family member, which could be protective, which in some cases might be okay. But then I know other families who say, well, we just don't ever talk about politics, but we enjoy going to the beach together, we have other conversations, they're kind to their children, they're generous and blah, blah, blah. So they at least get to enjoy the 99 positive things.
The humanity of the other person.
Holding, putting aside the one negative thing. And that also...
Let me catch you right there. Putting aside that one negative thing. What is that? That they don't agree with you on everything.
True.
And so that makes it negative, right? Yeah. We want to be aware that we're doing that, and they're doing that, and we're all doing that, and it's a problem.
We're defining negative and positive, right?
Yeah,
When it just
all the
is.
time. Well, and we haven't gone deep enough to know why someone holds that point of view, because it's not mine, and, whatever, don't have time for that. It's like, I have a third, like you have the people that you just write off, because that's called, hatred, anger, that's the exaggeration of the negative qualities of someone. That's why there's no wisdom there. That's why it's unreliable, because it's wrong. It's an exaggeration. It's wrong by its nature, because you're exaggerating it. Same thing with our attachment. But like, I'm fortunate enough to have a stepmom who's 95 now, who holds pretty much every opinion different than me. But she's really good at conversation. She likes to talk about difficult subjects that we disagree on. So we get to really know each other. Why does she think this? Why do I think that? And she, when I'm starting to go, she goes, I think you're getting a little upset now. Let's chill it, So I have this one, I've had many years now, 30 years of an example of someone who actually doesn't run away from people who have a different opinion, who actually sees the humanity and just keeps the conversation going. So it's, this is where, we don't put walls up. And the fewer walls we have, the more likely we're going to get along, and the less scary the world will seem. Yeah, I know.
Morning. When I talk with people that have a different opinion from mine, I always try to meditate on why is that, and to ask them why, without passing judgments. Try to understand really what they want to say and how they come to that view. Sometimes you find out that it's something that was brought up in their families,
Yep.
in their countries, in their history. Sometimes they are the tip of an iceberg that is hundreds and hundreds of years old. And then you realize it might be really hard to change, or it has to be accepted. And you have to find strategies to deal with it. But it's something like the weather sometimes. If it rains, it rains.
Yeah.
And, you have to get your umbrella, but you cannot do too much about it. So sometimes I feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. This is the good news, is there's a lot that we might react to that there's no reason at all, because we can't do anything about it. And so it's, Shanti Davis, why worry? If you can't fix it, why worry? So, and if you can, why worry? Just fix it, So it's just this, but we grasp instead, like everybody has to think like I do, everybody has to be, because otherwise we feel afraid. It usually comes down to fear in that case, it's scary that we're living in a time where, and we've been living in this, my whole life we've been living in this time where, presidents and presidential candidates get shot. Trump was shot today or yesterday, he just got his ear. But this is our reality in this country. And it's not, it isn't conducive to feeling peaceful. It's scary. And part of that fear is that we don't want things to change in a way that we're afraid of, towards something we're afraid of. So, so we're living in this state of fear, even in situations we don't have a whole lot of control over. But I can guarantee you, the less peaceful we are, and the more agitated we are, the more uncomfortable we are, and the more we put that energy out, it's going to feel worse. We're feeding our fear in those cases. We're feeding our sense of self. We're grasping onto things as if they're permanent, as if we know what's going to happen next. So it's like, but this goes back to the beginning of this idea that we have to value taking care of our mind, value taking care of our mental states, recognizing that we can do that helps us stay a little more true to our values, whatever, and less reactive. And that involves pausing, that we, instead of just reacting, because it's our habits that are reacting. We just got lots of habits, according to the Buddha, since beginningless time. That's a long time, That's a really long time. So for me, I know that my habits are like tsunamis, just, and I have to come up with something that's equally strong and stronger. So when the tsunami comes, I can go, oh, nope, and then maybe I'll actually change my habit. That takes a little more effort, but it's doable. The good news is it's doable, because the basis for our mind is this awareness. It has that capacity. We don't have to change anything to this faculty in order to do it. We need to undo habits and build other habits, based on wisdom and compassion and kindness, and not grasping at me and mine as being the center of the universe. And that's an old habit, so it's not easy to do. I have no idea how much time we need at the end.
Not long, 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll keep running my mouth then. Okay, so, yeah.
You know, I found that when I'm willing to have the conversation, and someone has a different opinion of my own, and I'm willing to have the conversation, I find that I learn a lot. And I also found that actually my opinions can change.
Yep.
You know, I've discovered I may not be totally right about that. And yeah, it's a shock.
I know, it is.
Yeah, it's a shock. Yeah, and so then I find that my opinion can change, and that's wonderful. In my classes in prison, I have Christians, I have Muslims, I have
Yeah.
Buddhists in the class, and they have different opinions. But it's okay. We don't want to get too caught up because I only got an hour. Yeah, But I try to allow them to be able to share and then we look for commonality.
Yeah.
And I think
Well,
that's...
this is
yeah.
the good news about these conversations, is we discover how much we have in common, It isn't like 50% of the country is a completely different entity than the other 50% of the country. That's not true. It's just simply not true. As Buddhism teaches us, we are all suffering. We all want happiness, and we don't know what we're doing. So we can kind of start there. When we're ready to react, we can kind of go, do I know what I'm doing? Oh, maybe not. Do these other people who've offended us or whatever, do they know what they're doing? Probably not. We just need to come from a place of trust of that they have Buddha potential. They have compassion, they have loved ones. All those things also exist for them. And you might not be one of them. And that's okay. So it's this being able to get comfortable with not knowing, because, how often do we think we know what's in the mind of someone else? And unless you're clairvoyant, you simply do not know. You're just wrong. Because you literally can't know that. So it's an assumption right from the start. And we need to feel confident of that. Oh, I don't know what they're really thinking. So any judgment I have about what I think they're thinking is it can't possibly be true. So there are all sorts of ways with different kinds of interactions that we can pause and realize this is that discomfort place. When we have that discomfort, we realize, the way my language goes, I've been hooked and I need to be cautious, because something is, something's driving this discomfort that's coming from habit. This one little, isn't it? That's habit. So I need to respect that, but not give it any kind of weight that says, oh, well, I must be right. I just need to understand I've been hooked and approach this differently so that I don't do something I regret, or don't say something I regret, or don't miss an opportunity that might be fruitful. But sometimes, with some stuff, we just have to walk away because we're not there yet. We haven't worked on the issue enough, or we can't figure it out in that moment. But it's really just trusting that as soon as you feel uncomfortable, you're not as reliable. It works in the other direction too. Have you been around somebody who's been wildly infatuated lately? Oh, we're getting so old, folks. What to do? But if maybe you remember being wildly infatuated, how reliable were you then? So not just when we're, upset, it's also when we're extremely happy, that we're unreliable. So, it's just, this is what the good news is the more we're comfortable with the quiet awareness of the mind, that's not being distorted by all this stuff that we put in it, then we discover the happiness that's there. And we don't have to be dragged around by what, oh, is this a good moment, or is this good food, or is this, I don't like this TV show, whatever's going on. That it's because you have this solid place within. So we're not have to follow our addictions to what makes us, sensory happy, But this takes practice. Lots of practice. Oh, all right. Any last comments?
Thank you so much. It's
You're
beautiful.
welcome, Tritsula.
There's a couple things that I've been thinking about as we're talking that are kind of prominent in, I guess, more in therapy and psychological settings around trauma-informed. And
Right.
So I was thinking about you talking about that pause and wondering what you think about that in terms of if there's really deep trauma. I mean, one of the things I've learned is that sometimes people are in a place where they really can't think straight. They're
Right.
They're not going to be able to deal with it unless, they do something to ground into their body. Maybe it's breathing. Maybe, there's other actions that can also help at that point. Anything you had around that? And I guess the other point was, that distinction of, okay, I've worked it in my mind, or I'm working in my feelings and minds and body. Now, what do I do? I mean, there may be times you do have a boundary.
Oh, of course.
Based
Many
on
times we have
safety.
boundaries. Don't mistake myself, me. Blah. Yes, we need boundaries.
Okay, I just wanted to get see if you had any thoughts around all of that that's been going in my mind as we're talking here.
I'll try my best. So one of the things we have to keep in mind about Buddhism is it's an inner process. We're talking about the conversations we're having in our own mind and what we choose to leak out to others. So it's like, none of this stuff that's going on in our mind, that we're uncomfortable, that we have, whatever's going on, whatever's been triggered, that we're hooked, doesn't have to be shared at all. This is a, inner matter. We're trying to take care of our inner selves, with care and respect, and it helps us to be able to avoid those reactive things. It's not going to help us when we get hooked by a trauma. There's other work that needs to be done there, so because like you said, we need to be able to have our boundaries. It's always appropriate to walk away, from situations, to make people aware that other people, I need help here, these things. And also, so some people don't do well when you're experiencing trauma, whether you're revisiting an old trauma or whether it's a current, it's new stuff, Sitting with a quiet mind is sometimes traumatizing because your thoughts keep going to the trauma. You're not able to actually quiet your mind. So you need to know that. And, you don't have to beat yourself up about it, You may need to walk instead, ground yourself in the physical feelings. So you need to, this is about your inner wisdom. When I can't handle this, okay, do something different. it's very important to, just because our feelings can be unreliable, doesn't mean that they're not providing us information we need. We need to know that we're not comfortable. And we need to treat that with respect, even if it's not based on wisdom. Doesn't matter. Because we are even more reactive when we try to stuff that or suppress it. And then it, explodes some other point, So I'm not a therapist, can't help you with that. This is, so we're trying to take care of our minds. And so what we experience, what we hold onto our mind, doesn't even matter. It's sort of like, how they say, some people have false memories. They go through some process and then they end up with false memories. Those false memories aren't necessarily less traumatic. Because we're talking about the mind here. If this is what you're holding on to in your mind, it's going to be traumatic. So you may need a different process for working through that if you discover it didn't actually happen. So there's just, I tell you, if we can have more scenarios than, however many sentient beings there are, and we can't count them, there are that many traumas that, that come from this, this whole experience of samsara. So, any other part I'm leaving out?
No, thank you. That was great.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate, that you summarized so beautifully the path a little bit ago, and it's just all about relieving suffering for us and others. And
exactly.
that's what I'm getting from everything you're saying.
This is the thing, that this is why we need to respect our own discomfort. This is why we want to not pass it along to somebody else, is because, we're never going to find peace as long as we're not taking care of ourselves, and that helps us take care of others. It's the class, we all, intellectually, I think we all know this. We just forget in the moment. So, all right, thank you very much for your time. We're going to say our prayers with our lovely chant master, whom I am not. Do we have announcements that we say? I don't know when we do things. Do we?
Sometimes we have announcements. Do we have any today? Oh, Monica, where are you?
And we have Saturday,
Oh, there
too.
you are.
Don't we have an event this Saturday?
Yes.
Here.
Yes, we have a very exciting to me, sorry, I'm a big Tara fan. So for the first time in quite a while, we are going to have Tara practice here on Saturday with Geshe Gelik. We're going to bring all the 21 Taras from their place on this altar to their very own altar in the center of the room. It's a really lovely practice. It's going to take us a couple of hours to do it, and everyone will go through all of the Taras and do this wonderful practice. So since we're taking them all down, there's a little work involved, and we're going to be doing that Friday afternoon. Anybody is welcome and invited and encouraged to come and help. And then the practice itself starts at 10:30 Saturday, but we have 21 Taras to make offerings to, so if you want to come at 9:30, you can help make those offerings, and that's really wonderful. And then when we're all done with the prayers, anyone who wants to help us get all the Taras back up here and get the room back to default, that would be really wonderful. So please, hope to see you on Saturday and Friday. And I'll turn this over to Monica, who has a very important announcement.
Okay. Hi, my name is Monica. It's not really an announcement. It's just want to say thank you to some of the people that helped in May when Neng Rinpoche and Khenso Rinpoche were here. They helped me with the grounds, and 3 of the people aren't here. It was Linda, Mark, Michael, and Martin. Linda showed up one time, or 1 or 2 days and helped me weed and dehead and move a couple of things around. Mark and Michael helped me put all the mulch in the gardens. And Martin, bless his heart, he actually got on his hands and knees and weeded around the circumambulation path and had some wonderful wisdom of us. Why are we killing the weeds if we're not supposed to be killing? So that was a dilemma. So now when I'm weeding, I'm saying a little mantra of, I'm sorry I'm doing this, but this is an area where you really shouldn't be here. So, so hopefully when I put you out in the other area, you can put out roots and grow somewhere else. But anyway, there are, I guess, I don't know, they're living things. It was a dilemma when they asked that question. Yes. But anyway, I know Martin and Trina, don't want to forget this, but Trina, once she retired from teaching, she and her husband have been coming every week and helping me out. They actually trimmed what we called the Dr. Seuss tree, and they actually, excuse me, trimmed some of the branches around the stupa and the circumambulation path so they wouldn't be drooping and, having a lot of leaves around the area. So. Yes, and Trina also helped me every Sunday blowing the walkway. So they're not here, but for Mark, everything I've made for them, Mark, this is for you. Come on up here. One is made out with witch hazel, and the other one, regular oils, mosquito repellent. For you, when you're done, you can bring it back and I'll make you some more. Linda, I have a little gift for you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I guess next week, hopefully, Martin and Michael and Trina, no, Trina's at the beach, will be back and I can give them their presents. But thank you so much. Thank you.
I should all rejoice in this beautiful garden. I mean, it was lovely to come back here and see the circumambulation path and everything. Monica's done a lovely job, and I appreciate everybody who's worked on it, because it's really, I remember when Emily passed, and this was years ago, she was our chaplain, and she wanted a garden of flowers, so it's nice to see that there's so much of it happening. It's so fabulous. And something important to say, I apparently forgot it. So besides that was very important to say. Thank you.
If you remember, you can say it
Just shout
after
it
the
out.
prayers.
But I did want to say that with Donna talking about setting up and the taking down, a practice includes those things. It's not just it's the setup, there's an offering in that, that's part of the practice. So set up and take down is part of the whole deal, so.
And we do have a question online. What time do we need to be here on Friday? It's from 2 to 3, or 3, yeah, 2 o'clock, and then we'll see. And then Martin was on Zoom. He says, thank you, Monica. Okay, Lamala.
Please turn to page 246, and we'll read the dedication verses by Master Shantideva. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of our merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with the mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may these never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other for as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain. Until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Now for the long life bearers on 244 and on page 245. First for His Holiness on 244. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chen Reizik Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And on page 245 for Khyentse Rinpoche, the one who mastered speech at a very young age, the one with great patience who received the name Avatare, the one with great precision who spread the teachings of Lama Tsongkhapa on bliss and void, Lama ornament of the yellow hat tradition, please remain until samsara ends. And then on the inside back cover for Lama Zopa Rinpoche, peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of the infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wear the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make requests. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings you suddenly departed to peace, what a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. And then for Geshe-la, on the inside front cover, Supreme God, you lead us on the many paths of virtue. A shining sun, you give us the best of excellent explanations. Supreme virtuous friend, you are a constant Dharma companion. Lama's renounced fame, may you ever remain. And for Geshe Sampo, you have steadfast imprints of virtuous qualities, and keep the instructions of the glorious Guru in your heart. You who pass day and night with noble activities, great virtuous friend, may you have a very long life. And then 7 Tara mantras for all beings. Om Tare Tu Re Soha. 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 Om Tare Tu Re Soha.
Thank you, Venerable Tendrila. Thank you, everybody online, for joining. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Linda.